All right. Good morning. We are live. And today, what we're going to talk about life today. Um, really, what I want to talk about today is the only supplement that matters. People, in this health world, everyone's looking for the magic pill, the magic powder, the magic liquid, the magic juice. There's only one. But there's only a magic process. But if there's one thing, um, we're going to talk about the one thing. But before I get into today's subject, I just want to make some quick announcements. I'm back here in DC through the end of the month, and I will be making food beginning next week. Those of you local here in the DMV, we suspended the food. We will have food beginning this Saturday, from Saturday to Saturday. So if you know what it is, you'll be able to order through the normal channels, the website. If you want to pick up, just let me know. You can call the number 202-903-1950. The website is KeprasRawFoodJuiceBar.net, the .net website. So yeah, and we still taking Thanksgiving orders. Thanksgiving orders tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline. So if you want to order Thanksgiving and get it delivered, if you're local here in the DMV, tomorrow is the day. But yes, I am back. Thanks everyone for welcoming me back. I will be back in Panama at the end of the month, and it's obviously not too late to join us in September. We've been doing some great things there. But today, let me get into it. Yeah, because I got to make this short and sweet. Today, we're going to talk about the only supplement that is worth considering. As we know, we talk about vitamins, and we know the importance of, vitamins, minerals. There's hormone therapies and minerals, and, like melatonin, and I mean, anything that they can market and produce into a bottle is going to be done, because if people, we're always, we live in a consumer-driven society, and we're always looking for, again, the magic pill. And there's only a magic process. And that process is one where we have to be one with its diet, its exercise. There's no easy route for things that are worth having. All right, so what is that magic? What is that magic? That magic substance, that magic process? Well, the only thing that's worth considering is enzymes. If there's any reason why I can make the strongest argument for raw food, is enzymes. Me talking to you right now is because there's enzymes working. Without enzymes, there is no life. Vitamins, minerals, all the things that we are trying to get more of will not work without enzymes. And I really wanted to talk about it because you all might be, I'm sure we're all familiar with enzymes. We've heard that, enzymes are of course heat sensitive. You cook a food, you destroy the life of the food. That life is the enzymes. So why is this so important? Well, because when we don't eat raw food, when we eat anything that doesn't have its own enzymes, we have digestive enzymes, right? Now, when we look at animals in the wild, animals that don't eat cooked food, okay, they have digestive enzymes, but they don't use digestive enzymes. Why? Because their food, whether they're, carnivores or herbivores or frugivores, they're not using digestive enzymes. Why? Because their food has the life. Again, whether they're eating other animals or they're eating plants, leaves, fruits, nuts, whatever, they're eating life. And what happens when we don't eat life? When we're not eating food that has its own life, it is taking away from our life. Digestive enzymes are not it's almost the genius of the body. We're not supposed to use our own digestive enzymes. Our body is not designed to use its own digestive energy. Our body is designed for the enzymes, like basically are, for living in life itself. And so the thing is that it's so important to eat obviously live food, living food, and even more than that, food that is even coming with extra enzymes like fermented foods. So eating certain fermented foods, while not necessary to always eat fermented foods, some fermented foods, but things like sauerkraut and kimchi, because certain vegetables can be, it has, a high cellulose, and sometimes that cellulose can be hard. But even though it has its own, even if it's not fermented, it still has enzymes if it's not been cooked. So, and we'll get into the supplement side of enzymes, but at least from the standpoint of diet and diet alone, we're not supposed to use our digestive firepower. We're not supposed to use our digestive enzymes, okay? Because every time we use our own digestive enzymes, it is taking away from our metabolic enzymes. So our body has the genius designed to say, you know what, I'm going to take some of my life force to help you break down this cooked food. Okay, and what ends up happening is that we only have we don't have an infinite supply. We have a finite supply of metabolic enzymes. Okay, and if we're eating cooked food every day, multiple times a day, it is putting basically you become enzyme weak, or you become enzyme poor. And if you're enzyme poor, your health and your vitality is going to suffer. You're going to prematurely age. You're going to break down because you're enzyme poor. All right. Now, one of the things that's important to understand, I want to make a few points. We'll take some questions and we'll keep it moving. But we have our stomach is actually divided into two sections. We have when we eat food, it enters into that first section and nothing happens. Nothing happens for at least an hour to an hour and a half. Why is that? Well, most animals have multiple stomachs. And the reason that they have these stomachs is because always in the first stomach of each animal, that is the place where the enzymes that food contains does the pre-digestion. This is what the first part of our stomach is used for. So that for that first hour at least, that is the time where when the food that we eat that should have its own enzymes should start to break down and pre-digest its own food. Now, what if we're if it doesn't have those enzymes? Well, nothing happens. If anything, the food begins to putrefy. It begins to do things that is going to again take away from our own life and vitality. Okay, so important to understand. Again, we got two stomachs essentially within one stomach, and the first part of the first stomach is the food enzyme stomach. That's supposed to be where the enzymes in the food does the work. So it's important to understand that. As far as taking enzyme supplements, if you take enzyme supplements, now I know I've heard veteran raw fooders taking enzyme supplements. It's not a bad idea. And so there's digestive enzymes that you can purchase, but then there's also therapeutic enzymes. And this is the only thing that I would recommend anyone take as far as a therapy. Is therapeutic enzymes. You have a few companies out there. The thing with therapeutic enzymes is that, again, it's not a quick fix. It works just like if you're going to use, oh, no sound on Instagram. All right, I'm going to have to exit and re-enter because I got a call. Let's see. All right, so I'm okay. I'm back on Instagram. If you're on, well, if you're on there, you'll get the notification. So there are therapeutic enzymes. There are therapeutic enzymes, and there's a few companies out there, and these enzymes have been useful for treating. And again, you want to consult your medical professional. Don't take this as just, we're only out. We're only here for entertainment purposes. But there are therapeutic enzymes that are useful for reducing tumors, whether they be cancerous tumors or getting rid of lymph buildup, helping with different pains and different issues in the body, because again, it is enzymes that does the work. Women with, especially Black women with fibroids, enzymes are very effective at eating away fibrin tissue. Because what is the fibrin tissue? Well, the fibrin tissue is excess, is basically the body trying to heal itself. The fibrin tissue is the scar tissue. Anytime if we get a cut or we get any type of any type of wound, the body is going to send fibrin tissue so that it can heal. The thing is that women, especially who have this excess fibrin tissue, a la fibroids, they are enzyme poor. There's no that they're eating largely foods that are creating the fibrin tissue, number one. So they're eating heavy mucus diet, dairy products, meat products, things that are not conducive to a female womb. And then the periods are long. The hemorrhaging, the monthly hemorrhaging is too long. And so it's a lot of trauma that's happening, and the body has to create this scar tissue in order to protect it, to protect the wound. So enzymes, I mean, obviously changing the diet. We always got to start there. We always have to remember that we have to, the diet is, the food that we eat is the medicine, and the medicine is the food that we eat. But if we're going, sometimes we need a little assistance, we need a little help along with the diet. That's why I say, even if you're going to take an enzyme therapy, it's going to be used hand in hand with diet and fasting. That's another thing. Fasting. That's why when we fast, those enzymes, that digestive energy gets transitioned into the healing of the body. All those metabolic enzymes that have been basically called upon to break down heavy cooked foods are now can be utilized for health and healing. Okay, so fasting is another way to really get our enzymes working. So that's another thing. Another point I want to make is that stress, so-called stress-related illnesses and diseases is a myth. There's a study done with wild rats and laboratory rats. Guess who's the most stressful? The out of the two, by far the wild rats. Between finding food and always getting their lives threatened, their stress is on max. However, it's the laboratory rats who don't have any stress at all that are having all the issues. Why? Because they're being fed a domesticated, enzymeless diet. So this whole thing was stress, and I even, when people say, "Oh, it was stress," that's a myth. It's any of these issues that we have, whether they be mental, mental, physical, emotional, is the fact that we are enzyme poor. We are enzyme poor, and that's why the body will begin to break down. So just wanted to bring out that point. And the last point I want to make is that when we eat food, there's food. There's three categories of foods. There's three categories of foods that the body breaks down in an enzyme way. One is sugars and starches. And so we use amylase to break down sugars and starches, and we have the amylase in our saliva. Protein is protease. Fats is lipase. So it's sugars, proteins, and fats. Okay, so if we're eating, whether we're eating raw or we're eating cooked, obviously if we're eating raw, they should be containing, all of those foods should contain its own enzymes to break down its foods. Nevertheless, the body is still using digestive energy, and it's creating enzymes to break that food down. So if we ever think that if we never use, if we never expend our own digestive energy, that will obviously lead to more vitality, more longevity, better living. And the thing is that when the food that we eat in the body, the enzymes that it is created, it is coming out where? It's coming out through the urine. So all the food that we're eating and the enzymes to break those foods out is coming out through the urine, which is why urine therapy is the top therapy. Urine therapy is the top therapy because there's enzymes in the urine. the enzymes that you created, that if you re-ingest, is going to you're essentially replacing that enzyme energy. So is another very important thing for those of you looking into urine therapy, thinking about urine therapy, or doing urine therapy, or disgusted by urine, the idea of drinking your own urine. Really wanted to make that point. So those are the points that I wanted to make. If there's any questions, I'll take any questions right now. Like I said, if you're just joining us, I'm back in DC for at least another week. We will start doing food beginning on Saturday, and we'll continue into the next week through the holidays from Saturday to Saturday. So if you're local and you want to get some food, definitely check us out. And today we're talking about enzymes. But if you have any other questions about health or anything for that matter, I will take a few questions. If not, we'll keep it moving. And but just wanted to join y'all on a Thursday morning. I see that y'all are definitely in here. I want to say thank y'all for tuning in. But yeah, so I'll just recap, and if there's no questions, we will sign off. But yes, a couple of things that we mentioned is that we have two stomachs within the one stomach, and the first part of the stomach is the enzyme stomach, the food enzyme stomach. And it's important to realize that we are supposed to eat enzyme-rich foods. We are supposed to eat raw foods. If we don't eat raw foods, I don't care how mineral rich it is. Minerals can't work without enzymes. Vitamins can't work without enzymes. If one thing I agree with the great late Dr. Sebi is, like, you could cook it to a burnt ash. He was wrong. Enzymes is everything. Those of y'all into that sea moss, you're not supposed to cook your sea moss. You're not supposed to boil it and wash it, and you're washing away, first of all the mineral salts, and you're destroying all the enzymes. Now, one thing I do want to mention, for those of you who are practicing the raw food diet, that we have to be very, very careful with nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are foods that have, usually when we're buying them commercially, they have been prepared in a way where they now contain enzyme inhibitors. So that enzyme inhibitor is allowing that energy to be stored, but if we're eating food that has enzyme inhibitors, that is the opposite of what we want. So the way to release those enzyme inhibitors is to soak our nuts and seeds. Ideally, the nuts and seeds are just that. They're the seed for the plant. So we really should be, really eating minimal nuts and seeds. The seed is just that. It's the genesis of the plant, of the tree, of the vine, of the fruit. That is what we should be eating. Is the fruit that contains the moisture and contains the vitamins and the minerals and more importantly the enzymes, so that it can work synergistically in our body. So yes. So if there's any therapy to consider, is enzyme therapy. But the enzyme therapy is not going to work if the diet ain't right. But if there's any supplement that's worth considering taking, even with correct diet, is enzyme supplementation. And I mentioned, I know we had some comment here about stress. Like I said, I know for me personally, we all experience stress. But if anything, I can never think of a time in my life personally where stress hasn't helped me. whether personally, professionally. Um, Exercise is stress. Exercise is stress. And we all know exercise is a good thing. So the thing is that um, by and large, stress induced disease is a myth. When we go through stress, that is life telling us that we need to, is really there to test us and to allow us to grow as people. But the thing is that, again, whether we're dealing with emotional stress, physical stress, the fact that we are enzyme poor is the reason why our bodies break down. Stress is necessary. I mean, we can't, life without stress is not life. Living life is about stress, but to blame stress is faulty. We have to look at the fact that we don't have the enzyme, our metabolic life enzymes is being overused to break down food, which is again breaking us down. It's not a proper give and take. We're supposed to eat food so that it can regenerate us and rebuild us and give us the energy and the vitality, but it's actually taking and not giving if we're eating largely cooked foods. All right. So, yes, my brother Julius, shout out to him from Brazil. Urine therapy has been helping me reverse myopia. Yes. Urine cures everything. It cures everything because it's the enzymes. At least for as purposes of this discussion, it is you are producing the enzymes needed for your own healing. Good day, brother. I eat hemp seeds on my salad, maybe a spoonful. Should I cut back on those? I would say you could consider soaking your hemp seeds, or you could consider also just allowing them to get moisturized in some other way, like actually putting them on the salad and letting them sit on the salad and absorb some of that moisture in the salad. But I would say that just a few hemp seeds on the salad is okay. Again, if you're eating, especially if you're eating all live. So the question was about hemp seeds and sprinkling the hemp seeds, or really any seeds. But if you can, soak your seeds for at least 6 to 8 hours, and keep the seeds, on standby if you're not ready to eat them all. All right. What about chia seeds and flax seeds? How much should we be consuming, or should we? Well, with the chia seeds and the flax seeds, with any seeds, is again, like I said, we really should be minimizing. We don't really necessarily want to make meals out of these things. They should really be just sort of complementary foods at most. We should definitely be soaking any flaxseed, any chia seed. Now, flaxseed and chia seeds have a similar nature to them, is that when you soak them, they pretty much absorb all of the water, and when you have them in a container, they'll pretty much turn into a gel or paste. So it's really not, I mean, unless you're using it in something else as far as a recipe, they're not really, I know some people that may sprinkle chia seeds into their food, maybe into their smoothie. So, if you're putting it into a smoothie, or you're putting it, I know, like my bread recipe, I use chia seeds. I could also use flax seeds, things like that. But again, I think that these foods are okay. We just have to make sure that it's used minimally, because again, we want to make sure that we um, are not again tapping and stressing our enzyme bank. Yes, we mentioned fermented foods. Fermented foods are definitely foods that we want to have in our diet. If anything, that was our method. We look at a lot of traditional cultures that I mean, most traditional cultures understood the power and understood the importance of fermenting your food. A lot of these foods, even squirrels, if you give a squirrel a nut, oftentimes that squirrel will bury that nut so that it can germinate, so that it can begin to sprout, and then it will come back and eat that nut. So, in nature teaches us that we really need to be eating enzyme active food, and fermented foods are definitely enzyme active foods. Quinoa. How should we eat quinoa? I boil it. I don't cook much of it. What are your thoughts on quinoa? Well, the one thing about quinoa, ironically enough, is that when you cook it, it actually sprouts the tail. Um, because enzymes are heat sensitive, I would say that um, the good thing is that it does sprout, turning it into a simple carbohydrate versus a complex carbohydrate, but it's enzyme poor because you cooked it. So ideally, you want to try to sprout it. You want to try to get that sprouting action without cooking it. And quinoa obviously high in protein. It is a seed. Uh, uh, Ideally, you want to sprout it. You want to sprout it, and I like to. I mean, again, I know boiling it may be convenient, but sprouting it again, even though it could take, because quinoa sometimes can be tough to sprout. So I would, go on YouTube and just Google about sprouting quinoa or just sprouting any of your seeds. Most times you have to rinse it multiple times, and like you soak it, like after you soak it. So you soak it and then you rinse it. And then you come back to it maybe some hours later and you rinse it again, or a day later, you rinse it again, and then you rinse it again. And then the environment it needs to be in. Sometimes if it's too cold, like in the refrigerator, it may not sprout. Sometimes it will sprout in the refrigerator. So you got to really just, become your food scientist and get in the lab, which is your kitchen, and try these things. Try, again, the soaking. And again, I know it's much easier to just put it on the stove and maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, an hour later, it's done. But again, the fact that you boiled it tells me that there are no enzymes, even though it does sprout. So if you're going to cook anything, or anything that's maybe acceptable to cooking is the quinoa. However, I mean, you still cooked it. So I would say that ideally you want to sprout it. You gotta rinse it a few times. Same thing with chickpeas. Um, uh, Sesame seeds. Most times these things will sprout in the refrigerator, and but the only thing is that you just gotta rinse it multiple times. It may take a few days, which is well worth the wait. One thing I like to do with quinoa personally is after it sprouts, I like to blend it into like a paste and make crackers. So it's a nice thing to or if you're doing your quinoa salad, you want to add a lot. Like, it shouldn't be mostly quinoa. You want to add a lot of fresh vegetables to your quinoa salad. You could do a tabbouleh, or you could do some I mean, there's many directions you can go. And but when these are concentrated high protein foods. Again, we don't need so much protein. All of our foods contain protein, and quinoa is one of those things is that we don't want to put that excessive heat on. Yeah, so we had another question about of course, yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm gonna try to get that uploaded before I leave back to Panama. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do it. It might have to be next year, but it will happen. Yeah, so I've been promising to upload a course on my YouTube channel. So it's coming, and soon come. But let me see if there's any other questions. I'm looking here on Instagram. Okay, so I've been diagnosed with stage 2 kidney failure. Any suggestions to cleanse and repost my kidney? Again, it's gonna take a lot of a complete dietary overhaul, a lot of fasting, a lot of prayer, meditation, and understanding that you don't want, we got to stop exhausting the enzyme bank. So if you're considering going all raw, doing a lot of fasting, considering urine, again, as I said, urine therapy will help correct that kidney or those kidneys. So yes, she was asking about kidney failure. I thought hemp seeds didn't have to be soaked. Well, again, the hemp seeds, all of our seeds. Now, for those of you who've taken my classes, I'm on the record as saying I don't usually soak my white nuts and seeds. That includes cashews, pine nuts, macadamia nuts, and that's because from a culinary standpoint, usually what I've noticed with the white nuts and seeds is that when I'm soaking them, when I drain the water off, we'll lose some of the cream, some of the essential fat of the nut. So it's almost like this weighing. So what you could do is, because the thing is, like, if you soak, like, the richness and you lose some of the creaminess and the richness of it with the white nuts. I don't find that to be true with the brown nuts, but with the white nuts, I definitely find that to be true. Now again, we don't have to soak it. However, it's just advisable. And if you're eating largely, again, a lot of greens, a lot of fruits, a little bit of nuts and seeds, whether they've been soaked or not, is not going to exhaust your enzyme bank. Obviously, we want to soak it, and we want to soak the hemp seeds ideally. Yeah, we should soak the hemp seeds. Kelp noodles. Well, I serve kelp noodles. What are my thoughts on kelp noodles? Yes, kelp noodles. Kelp noodles are. I'm down with the kelp noodles. I do soak the kelp noodles to tenderize them with baking soda. Baking soda has an alkalizing effect, and it also helps to tenderize the kelp noodles. And you can add your sauce, your seasonings, and yeah, your kelp noodles are definitely something I'm down with. Definitely down with the kelp noodles. So let's see. Any other questions? All right. So we're gonna end it there. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Again, real quick, just wanted to really give y'all the updates as far as next week. I'm excited to get back and make some food for my local DMV family. And wanted to give y'all this message about enzymes and the importance of life and vitality, and that, you know, if there's any supplement worth taking, it is enzyme supplementation. All right, so salute to the family, and we'll see y'all. Actually, probably next time I see y'all, I'll be back in Panama. All right, peace and love.